The most ridiculous thing is about to happen. British Prince Harry and American citizen Meghan Markle are playing a huge role in the US election and the new election campaign. We're going to update you on all the details of this incident and story developments right now. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. So Election Day in America is coming on November 5th of 2024 in what is expected to be a rematch between President Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Now, according to reports, Harry and Meghan are, quote, working to prepare U.S. voters for a possible deepfake onslaught. According to the website, a bipartisan coalition with support from Hollywood power players and Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's Artwell Foundation is working to prepare U.S. voters for a possible deepfake onslaught as the campaign year goes into high gear. All right, so first off, last time I checked, Harry's a British prince. He's not an American citizen. He has no sway in elections whatsoever. He doesn't even get to vote. And honestly, he should just be giving up his British passport right now and becoming an American citizen because it looks like he wants to involve himself in our politics. Actually, I have a friend who originally is from the UK, and my friend has lived here for 25 years, but still is not allowed to vote because he doesn't want to give up his British nationality, and I don't blame him. And why in the world would a loser British prince and also an ex-yacht girl have any influence whatsoever over American politics? What, is Meghan Markle lining up some of her special entertainment for the Senate or Congress? Harry has no standing in the US, and basically he's like an illegal immigrant. As for Meghan, she has nobody left who cares about her, and she's certainly not smart enough to run for any office. This is all just a bunch of pipe dreams. It is funny, though, to me, because Republicans are probably going to be happy if these two are considered to be Democratic supporters. It's certainly not good for the Democrats. Meghan is convinced that she's more popular than she really is and that she can sway the election. She is dreaming. And as for her entering politics, she doesn't stand a chance. People despise her. Honestly, folks, words cannot even describe how outrageous these two are. Meghan is convinced that she's some kind of power player in US politics. I mean, what is wrong with her? Harry isn't even a US citizen. He has no voting rights in the US. He needs to keep his trap shut. Maybe Meghan thinks that she can promote herself and her politics through Archwell, but I suspect her PR people are just using this as an excuse to get some kind of photo ops for the two of them. They are completely irrelevant in not only US politics, but also generally speaking. Oh, and you know that Meghan paid their PR people good money to try to keep them relevant by putting out stories about them and doing photo shoots. Most people in Britain, though, could not care less about those two idiots, and most people all around the world just wish they would continue to fade away into obscurity and also stay out of the media. There are much more important things happening in the world than the antics of these two ex-royals. Harry and Meghan also seem to believe that American voters are like their followers and that we will just accept whatever they tell us. How insane are they, seriously? They have invisible children. They're guilty of elder abuse. Why are we going to do what they tell us to do? Meghan would need to make up and apologize to her father for starters, which is never going to happen because she's so egotistical. And she's got this idea in her head that she's always right. She can never be wrong. It's not like Meghan Markle has ever made a mistake. I always found it interesting, too, that Hillary Clinton was in the middle from the start. And I also find it interesting that Jill is classed as a friend of Harry's. Really? But at the same time, when Biden came into office, he made his feelings about the monarchy and Britain pretty clear when it came to his mother and Ireland. Now, I think most Brits were left with the impression that Biden didn't really like the UK or the monarchy. But what do we see here? Harry is right in the middle of things. He's trying to encourage the US voters. It really makes me wonder if something else is going on here. Those two really disgust me by being such opportunists and such liars, too. They don't have any credibility. I mean, interfering in the right of US voters to decide for ourselves how we vote is not a good idea. When Meghan married into the royal family, the right to vote was not allowed. That meant that she needed to give up her titles, and Harry should too if he wants to be involved in this. I also don't think it's right that Harry works at the Aspen Institute and receives government grants. Not too long ago, Harry also showed that he didn't even understand US politics, because how could he possibly be in a position to comment on anything political? Naturally, Meghan Markle is going to be in his ear telling him exactly what to say. I just don't think those two are going to play a role in anything. It's quite the exaggeration. I mean, I guess, though, that is what WME has paid them to say. And as for Griftwell, Archwell, they only had $2 million in donations last year. Two donors gave $1 million each. And it was probably paid in by Meghan and Harry themselves so that they could pretend like people cared about them. They're not going to have any impact whatsoever on the election because nobody cares what they have to say, especially considering the fact that, again, Harry is a foreign prince. What is going on here? Have we gone back in time to before the American Revolution? We've got an English prince meddling in US politics. They don't have any idea what they're doing. They just keep jumping from one thing to the next, thinking that something's going to stick and they'll finally be popular. It's bizarre, their behavior. Just imagine a prince of a different country, like Saudi prince or Russian prince, trying to do the same thing. Even if they did live in the US, people would not put up with it. I don't know about you all, but personally, I don't need a bit of help from Griftwell Foundation to influence my opinions when it comes to the election. They, of all people, are starting a campaign to fight disinformation. What is going on here? And let's not forget that Harry is connected to the Aspen Institute, which is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, spreaders of misinformation on social media. I guess I'll have to hand it to them. They are experts on disinformation. Honestly, they couldn't lie straight in bed, and how on earth could they get involved in American politics and still be flashing those titles every time they get the chance? So maybe they should start trying to get rid of all of Meghan Markle's alleged bots. That would be a great idea. That, my friends, is misinformation. And honestly, remember, a vote for Trump is a vote to kick Harry out of the country for lying on his visa about his drug abuse. Now, the first piece of disinformation is that it's a bipartisan project. In fact, this is being run by the Democrats. And I don't think Americans are going to appreciate getting advice from a foreign prince on how we should be voting. The real prince and princess, of course, I'm talking about the Prince and Princess of Wales, they are not going to be sticking their noses into US politics. But actually, for people who are not a big fan of Biden, I think this is going to be a great thing because I think whatever the Montecito morons do, well, more Americans are going to want to vote Republican because everybody knows they're a couple of liars. So why is anybody going to respect what those two have to say? And I don't think it's wrong to say that ex-Prince Harry should not be interfering in U.S. politics. He's not a citizen of the U.S. And this is also a breach of his requirements to keep that title. Parliament would have no choice, I would think, but to remove all Harry's titles, including Prince. It seems like the Montecito malcontents are just pushing their noses into areas that they know nothing about, and they don't understand even what they're doing. Maybe Harry is getting a little bit worried that he's going to get kicked out of the US if Trump wins. He should be worried. But I don't think it's a good idea for those two morons to try to influence any part of the US election. I think it's going to turn out to be a very grave mistake indeed, especially considering that they are using the charity to do exactly that. So basically, they're just jumping on yet another bandwagon. Why in the world would anybody listen to an ex-senior British royal family member, somebody who insulted and questioned their constitution after moving to the US? Also, from comments I have read, people in the US are very annoyed right now, including myself, that a British prince is trying to interfere in our politics, especially considering that he said our First Amendment, which guarantees our freedom of speech, is, quote, bonkers. This is a great opportunity for the royal family to cut all ties with those two. Because why is he involving himself in the politics of another country? Having British royalty be involved in our politics is basically why we fought a war, so that we can get away from that. Harry also lied on his visa application, and now he wants to tell us something about the way that our country runs our elections. Who does he think he is? So honestly, I'm going to be surprised if they really even do this. I don't think this is going to go over well. A British prince telling people in the US how we should vote. And they hate Trump, especially because he probably would get rid of Harry. So I don't believe they're going to be helping his campaign when it comes to misinformation. They'd probably get their squaddies out in full force too, spreading even more lies. And I do remember it was reported that supposedly Meghan Markle said that she would never return to the US while Donald Trump was president. Well, I guess is another of her truths, right? Her truths are never true. So now she's living in America, and she's even demanding that she should be able to interfere in the election. Meghan needs to be punished, not only for that, but for all of her crimes. I mean, neither of them is going to be officially representing either the Republican Party or the Democratic Party. They're a couple of nobodies. Interference in the US elections is more likely through various shady institutes the two of them have connected themselves with. Why in the world, after all, is a British prince on the board of an institute whose stated goal is to suppress freedom of speech? And why are there so few Americans who realize what is going on? I really want to know. So, what is this? A huge role in the US election? Can a non US citizen who lied on his visa application when it came to drug offenses be allowed to stay in the US? That kind of huge role? But to be fair to my friends in Britain, I understand that you want the US to allow him to stay here because you sure don't want to see him back in your country again.